Hello, Den Dojo time. And let's look and see what we got. 7:01, good timing. All right, so you can go ahead and take this opportunity, if you don't have a prop, to grab something that you can use to approximate a block, just to have it on hand. I don't generally plan things out, and so, but there's always opportunities to use props to amplify or modify your practice appropriately. So if you don't already have one, you've got a moment or two to go grab one, and then we'll get started with the actual moving around. I think I'm going to start in child's pose today. So child's pose can be knees together, or it can be knees wide. Knees together is the more technically standard child's pose, but at this point, like most people, I think in Western culture, prefer the wider knee variety, and it's valid for pregnancy, and if you are a little bit tighter, it's helpful. Can get into your hips a little bit more. So you can either go knees together, which I think puts a little bit more length in your spine, or you can go knees wide, which begins to address the hips right away. Up to you. Arms forward though, the arms back or other position of arms is more of a chill vibe, so we're not going there since it's the beginning of practice. Kind of want to take it and set the tone to move around for a little bit here. Try to lift your elbows up off of the ground. And use the compression that's happening in the sides of your ribs or the front of your body, depending on your legs, in order to breathe a little bit better into your back body. Take a cleansing breath, breathe in through your nose, hold it in at the top. Then open your mouth, let it go. Roll forward, tabletop position. Slide your knees hip width distance if they were closer. Take a moment to be mindful about spreading your fingers very wide. From here, drop your belly, lift your gaze, cow pose on your breath in. Exhale, scoop your tailbone underneath you, press the ground away, drop your chin to your chest more. Back to cow, reverse back into a little bit of a back bend. I think some people kind of have a tendency to shrug their shoulders dramatically up into their ears when that happens, so be aware that you're distributing a nice long back bend along the entirety of your spine, including your neck and head. And then exhale, reverse. Scoop your tailbone down, lift your chest up, your belly up, as you're pressing down through your knees and your hands for cat. One more time, cow, inhale. Cat, exhale. Look forward, breathe in, step your right foot forward into a lunge with your back knee down. Now notice my back knee is not like a P-walk. And also at some point I'm gonna have to I have 2 layers of pants on, and that's gonna get in the way. Okay, so notice that this back knee is not super far back, and that's on purpose at this stage. That's, you want more or less 90-90-ish. And you're gonna go another 2 rounds of cat and cow spine with your legs in these 2 90-degree, like 90 degree over here, 90 degree over here, right and left leg, but cat and cow. One more time to cat. Bring it to neutral. Shift your hips back a little bit at a diagonal to the left and then back forward. So not straight back, but back and a little to the left and then straight back forward. And you're gonna rock a little bit until you're comfortable in the hamstring, but it's long, and then rock back forward maybe a little bit beyond that 90-degree angle a couple more times. You can take this front ankle into any shape that feels comfortable for you when you're back into this half split shape, because maybe one ankle shape works better for you than the other. Maybe a pointed toe works better than a flexed ankle. Rock back, get a little leg through the hamstring on your inhale, then rock forward. Drop your left forearm either down to the ground or to your prop of choice. Hold on to your right front of your right ankle or shin area with your left hand. Keep your foot flat and lean away. You can use your right hand to open your thigh away from you. So foot is staying flat, but you're opening your body and your knee in opposite directions, elongating through your ribs and through the muscles in the inner crease of your hips. One more breath in, and then you're gonna sort of reverse plant down through your right hand, right in tight, and hug your knee in tight to your outer ribs, then up with the left arm on the inhale, thread it underneath you to the right. Reach your shoulder longer than you think. Retract your shoulder and then lift and then reach and then thread it underneath you and double reach so that you're getting a stretch right here, stretch through the back of the shoulder, and then reasserting that stretch when you're threaded underneath you. And to pull the shoulder onto your back, you're retracting your shoulder blade. One more time. Good. Go ahead and plant your left hand down underneath your left shoulder. Tuck your left toes. Lift your left knee up. Take your right hand to the top of your right thigh. There's a tendency to drop your left hip down, slurp it back up so that it's in the same plane as your right hip. Keep pressing through your right heel, then roll your right shoulder on your back and look over your right shoulder. Lean back a little bit to bring your spine in line with the rest of, your head and neck in line with the rest of your spine. Good, and then what I want to do from here, see if you can follow along with it. Put your left hand back down to the ground and a little bit wide, and then kick your left leg underneath your right leg and sit down. And ultimately, where you'll just end up is your left leg forward and your right foot crossed over, tight into the outside of your left leg. Your right knee is up. Hug your knee with both arms. Lift your chest up tall, and then you'll hook deeper and twist your left ribs to the right more. And take that right hand behind you and look over your right shoulder a little bit. Exhale, release your right knee on top of your left knee as best as possible. This is also where a block might come in handy. Some people like to sit on a block here, and that helps to pitch their body a little bit forward over this shape. So if you're way back here with it, you might want to sit on a block so that you're more 90-degree angle. Or you can use a block and take up the gap between your upper body and your legs, but gravity can just do the trick here too. So you might feel an outer hip stretch, an IT band stretch without doing much of anything, or you might need to go more forward to feel it. Doesn't super matter. We'll be here for about 5 breaths. Just slowly breathe. I found that I was lifting my head up more, and so I tucked my chin to my chest so that gravity can take even more hold of my head and pull my whole torso down as a result. Come on up. You're gonna take your right foot to the inside of your left leg. This is where I probably should ditch the double layer of pants. Okay. Right foot inside of left leg. Lift both arms up on your inhale. Exhale, fold to whatever degree over your left leg. We'll hold it for 3 breaths. Inhale up, plant your right hand behind your right hip. You're gonna hike up onto your right knee, then push your hips forward, and then cut your left arm along. And then notice how my head's still sticking forward. You want to take your head back so that it's in line with the rest of your spine. Good. Sit it back around and cross your ankles, roll to your knees. We'll do the other side. Cat and cow. So drop your belly with your gaze. Inhale. Exhale, cat. Arch your spine. Cow pose, fill up. Cat on your breath out. Inhale, look forward, step your left foot forward. You're just going 90-90. And once you're 90-90, you're going to assert some pressure down through your left heel and keep that as an anchor point as you cat and cow for another 2 more rounds. Then start to go a little back at a diagonal to the right and straighten your left leg. Rock back forward. You can start to ease that lunge into a deeper lunge. And remember, you also have the option to play around with the ankle position on your left leg as you're moving in this way. You're also examining the relationship of your joints in your lower body on the left side, so that as you're bending your knee, it's tracking over your second and third toe nicely. No discomfort in your knee on either side. Okay, rock forward, and this is where you might be a little bit more forward now than you were before. No longer 90 degrees in this back leg. You're gonna take your prop maybe, or maybe you don't need it. You're gonna take your right hand to your left shin and your left hand up to your left leg. Lean away. Your hand is on your shin to help keep that foot flat on the ground, even as your thigh spirals open to the left. And then we're going to bring it back to the middle. Plant your left hand down and then set yourself up to hug your left leg in tight to your body. Reach your right arm up, reach your shoulder away from your spine, and then wrap underneath and double wrap so that you're getting a nice rounded back. Maybe even some activation in the front of your chest, and up and under. Last time. put your right hand down, maybe put a little weight into your right hand, tuck your right toes, take a breath in, and you're gonna kick your right foot through behind your left leg so that you're in this seated twist setup. Oh, actually, we didn't take the lunge twist. That's okay, we'll spend a little longer in the seated twist. It all comes out in the wash anyways. All right, so lift your chest up, take a moment, and then hook around, and then notice if there's a gap between your chest and your thigh. Lift everything up so that you can hug yourself tighter. There's no like, couldn't put a piece of paper in between my abdomen and my leg. And even there, I've wrapped that little movement, taken these ribs over here, and I'm pulling them across in that direction as much as possible. And then plant your left hand behind you once you feel like your torso is in a good shape. Look over your left shoulder and just work to breathe. It's a little bit uncomfortable to breathe in twists. You're putting your organs, including your lungs, under a level of compression and torsion at the same time, and that doesn't leave as much room as there would normally be to expand, but that is useful. It's a tool. One more breath in. And exhale, return. You're gonna take and drop your left knee down on top of your right leg. Lengthen your spine on your inhale and crawl yourself long on your exhale. Let your head drop down. Slide yourself back up, move your left foot to the inside of your right inner thigh. Inhale your arms up. Exhale, frame your right foot with your hands and your body. Drop that left shoulder and ribs down and let your body track as far forward as you can. Good, reach to come on up. Plant your left hand behind you. This time you'll shift your weight onto your left knee. Lift your hips up tall and reach your right arm back. Let your head go back. And exhale, bring it back around. Sit onto your butt. I don't know which direction y'all are facing. I always end up turning so that things are a little more clear. So go ahead and grab underneath your legs and get as tight between your upper body and your lower body as possible. And then rock backward and pick your legs up. And then bring your shins up to be parallel with the ground. Then move your hands so that your hands are holding the back of your hamstrings. Roll your shoulders on your back and keep your legs where they are. Now you're welcome to stay like this if this is challenging enough. If you want a little more, without dropping the one leg, you tap and bring the foot right back up. Tap down, bring the foot right back up, and you can hold like I'm holding and do this, or no, holding with your hands. Or no bending of the legs. So you've got levels with it. We'll go for, let's say, 4 more each side. When you are done, roll down, roll up, cross your ankles, roll over your knees, and make your way into downward facing dog. Feel free to take your feet into a wider version of down dog and bend your knees even if you need to in order to get your chest back toward your thighs more. Inhale, look forward, step yourself forward in between your hands. When you get there, you want your feet side by side, but you also may need to put a little space between your feet, depending, right? If you have more flesh and more to love in the front of your body, that might be too much to compress just on your thighs. And you might therefore want to make a little more space so that you can still breathe and get deeper in the hip crease. It's all about the hip crease, really. So that's where you're trying to get a nice deep engagement here. Make space as you need to in the mid thigh, and then let your chest and head really wrap in around the legs from there. Let your face relax. Take deep breaths into your back. Let your weight track out of your heels and into your forefoot more. Press through your feet, roll up to stand. When you get to the top, reach both arms up. Press your palms together, drop your head back. Keep your glutes on and shift your weight back into your heels a little bit. Then just hang out and breathe into your throat and maybe your upper chest area. Exhale your hands to your heart, push your hips back, deeply bend your knees, forward fold. Your half lift, you just bring your chest and head up. You want your belly still touching your thighs. Then with your hands to the ground, step back to plank, and breathe. Drop your knees down to the ground, and then go ahead and take them just a little bit wider. And then walk your hands forward. If you have a mat, you can even grab the front edge of your mat and start to push it away as you drop your chest down. Now, you can bring your chest a little bit forward here. You want to bow your middle back some. Enough that you can still breathe, but you're feeling a contraction in your middle back, and maybe also your arms plugging into your middle back area. Slide forward onto your forearms, drop your hips down, untuck your toes. Bring your hands together, palms together, squeeze your palms together. Press down through your elbows, hollow out your belly, tuck your tailbone down to lift your hips up. Your knees will stay down, just look straight down in between your forearms and breathe. And then hips down, chest up, stretch all that area in the front of your body back out. It's gentle, it's not a big, feel like your skin's gonna rip apart stretch, but it's a little bit of a stretch. Or maybe it's a lot depending on how often you stretch that area. Check or make sure your glutes are active. Then lift your gaze up a little bit. Take a big breath into your abdomen, and then on your exhale, we'll reverse back into that core position one more time. So lift your hips up, scoop your tailbone down on purpose, keep hollowing out your belly and lifting your chest, and then you just look straight down between your forearms and fold. And breathe. hips down, chest up. Inhale, exhale, child's pose, shift your hips back, stretch your arms long. Breathe in child's pose. Breathe out, downward facing dog, lift up and back. Inhale, look forward between your hands. Exhale, your stance, but step your feet forward between your hands and bend your knees deeply around and upper body around your legs. Roll up to stand. Lift your arms up when you get to the top. Reach up and look up, drop your head back behind your arms, open up your throat, weight back into your heels a little, glutes active. Pick a spot on the ceiling or the wall, notice that spot, and then the next time you come, see if you can look a little bit beyond it. Bring your hands to your heart on your exhale, push your hips back, deeply bend your knees, forward fold, tuck your chin at the end. Half lift, just look forward, plant your hands, step to plank, hold and plank, inhale. Drop your heels to the left. Keep your right fingertips on the ground, and you're gonna mini drop your hips down and then lift your hips up. Inch, drop your hips down, lift your hips up, and we'll do that 2 more times on this side. Down, up. Next time you come up, come back to regular plank, stay, breathe in. Drop your heels to the right, keep your left fingertips on the ground, just a tiny drop of your hips, and then lift them, little down and up. Last time, lift up and return to plank. Inhale, exhale, slowly lower yourself down to the ground, onto your belly. With your forehead down to the ground, you want your hands right underneath your shoulders. Take a second and roll your shoulders onto your back and hug your elbows in tight to your rib cage. Push your hips down into the ground and squeeze your butt to do it. Push your legs into the ground, squeeze your quads to do it. Then lift your head and chest up, and you want to keep feeling your upper back and your glutes and legs as the driving force of the lift here rather than your low back. Good, slowly lower down. Gonna have your hands down by your sides, palms down, roll, slide one hand underneath you, and then you'll roll and slide the other hand flat underneath you. Actually, the closer you can get your pinky fingers together underneath you, great, but you don't magically become a good person if you can do it, so don't stress about it. Maybe that's enough. If you want more, you can, with your chin to the ground, push your left leg down on purpose, float your right leg about an inch, and then just keep stretching it long, and maybe it will lift up higher. And then switch. And then down, roll one arm out, and then the other. Take a big breath in and out. Bring your hands back out underneath you. Slide back to child's pose. From child's pose, notice that your hips are moving at least toward your heels. For some people, they don't ever quite reach, And for some people, there's a pretty significant gap. So I don't know where everybody is with that, and you're just gonna have to triage. So keep the energetical vector of down and back as an anchor point. Move your hands over to the left. Keep your right hip down and back, and you're going hands to the left, right hip down and back until you get a stretch along anywhere on your right side. Or it could be everywhere on your right side. Come through the middle and do the same thing now on the other side. Bring it to the middle, downward facing dog, lift up and back. Inhale, look forward, exhale, step yourself forward, narrow or wider stance, and fold between your legs. Cross through your feet, roll up to stand. When you get to the top, let's do a little standing balancing. So reassess. We'll work on the mechanics of balancing first, and then we'll introduce some shapes into it afterwards. So shift your weight into your left foot. Your toes spreading wide, can lift up onto the ball of your left foot, and then lift up again. Conveniently, I happen to have a coin here. You could, if you needed a reference point because your ankles collapsed, put a coin under the ball of the big toe mound area. Feel that coin, press down into the coin and only down into the coin. The other toes are just there to help you stabilize. This other foot, I'm not super worried about what it's doing. We're focusing on just the one side. All right, that's just a tool you can use if you don't happen to have a coin handy like I have. Don't worry about it for right now, but know that you can always circle back to that as a breakout exercise. All right, so got some footing over here. You're shifting your weight to the left. Notice that your pelvis goes. And this is not a straight line, and so it won't hold you. So you need to activate your other leg. Point your toes, elongate out of your other leg so that the whole center of gravity shifts over your left leg, and now it is straight. Then I can flex and point. I want you to do that too. Flex your ankle, point. All right? It's really an illusion of 2 feet holding you. It's really just the one foot that's doing the thing, which in and of itself is kind of a lot to be asking of the hip stabilizers. So let's take a break on that side. And now we're going to shift over to the right foot. With your weight in your right foot, left leg is kind of secondary right now. You're going to work to lift on the ball of your foot, and then lift even a little bit more. And I can tell that I could probably spread my toes even a little wider as I'm doing that, so I'm going to reset and do it again. Up and up. Feel the calf muscle working. Good. And then slowly back down. The weight is shifted, the hip is out, so we're going to fix that by going engaged and long in the diagonal out of the non-standing leg, and then flex and point. Flex and point. Good, and then shift it back. Now you probably felt the muscles in the front of your hips working to stabilize. I'm going to take that, I'm going to lift the non-balancing leg even higher, the non-standing leg even higher up, and put even a little more demand in the hip, kind of like that core exercise that you did where the one foot was up, tap, and tap, okay? So right? Out to the side, engaged, long, center of gravity has shifted, you're lifted, and then you'll lift your leg, press and resist, and then you can kind of bring everything back into neutral. So you're pressing, and then you're resisting up, and so things have turned on. Pressing, and you're lifting up, and so there's equal and opposites going on here. Hold and breathe. Spin your thigh open. Notice my pelvis did not change. Bring it back to neutral. Spin your thigh in. My pelvis did not change. I'm not compensating by changing the orientation of my pelvis and my spine just to get the hip rotation. Go ahead and step it down. Shift your weight. Shift, lift, and then lift. Press and resist. Bring it to neutral. Now I just made an adjustment. I'm going to turn to the side so that you can see it. So what had happened was I was lifted, but if you'll notice, I'm going out that way. So what I did was I pulled the femur back in a little bit. I'm going to return over this way. All right, so rotate the thigh out. Pelvis is still neutral. Rotate the thigh in. No compensation. Whatever range of motion you got there is what you're working with. Good. Step it down. Shake it out. Let's vinyasa and come back to this after a quick reprieve. So, feet together at the top of your mat. Use that length to get long at the top of your mat. Lift your chest up, reach your arms up, drop your head back. Try to see further back behind you this time. Glutes on. Then pull your hands to your heart, send your hips back. Bend your knees deeply, tuck your chin at the end, forward fold. Half lift, inhale, plant your hands, step to plank. Plank, breathe in. Exhale to lower. Cobra, glutes and upper back working. Inhale. Child's pose, exhale. Downward facing dog, lift up and back. Inhale, look forward. Exhale, step to the top of your mat. Let's do another round of balancing. Okay, shift your weight into your left foot. Lift out of your left leg. Lift your right leg up. And let's go with, see if you can either balance your right foot to your left calf muscle. When that happens, I scoop my tailbone underneath me a little bit to get even longer and engage to the front of the hip, and then I lift out of the front of the hip. If that's going well for you, you can take your foot up to the inner thigh, depending if you're wearing socks or slippery pants. You might want to like low key hold it there. Or if you have good, healthy, happy ankles and knees, you can point your toes. Perfect line through the center of the shin, ankle, and toe. You have to be able to bring your heel up basically to your crotch and a little bit above. Bring your heel to your opposite side hip, and then in which case that's the left hip. Take your left hand and hold the top of your right foot, and then your other hand goes to your heart. Drop your right knee to point straight down to the ground. If that doesn't feel good on your knee, don't do it, backtrack. If you start to drop your hip out to the side, you have gone out of alignment. Retrace your steps until you get back to a neutral pelvis. And then we will slowly step it down and switch sides. Okay, shift, lift, and then lift. And either you're going foot to calf. Same thing here with the hip. Can't balance if your hip's not part of this straight line. All right, maybe you're going to the inner thigh. By the way, this is pushing into my foot as much as my foot is pushing into my inner thigh. So both of the pieces go together. Pointed toe, heel up to the hip on the right side. Hold with your right hand. Spiral your left knee down to the ground. Right hand to your hip. Sorry, left hand to your hip or to your chest. Keep lifting. And slowly release. Step your feet. Let's go wide-ish. Butt back. Butt back. Bend your knees. Go ahead and squat. Hands to the ground. Plank, step back. Plank, inhale. Exhale to lower. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, child's pose. Take a breath in. Down dog, breathe out. Inhale, look forward. Step to the top, fold over your legs. Press through your feet, roll up to stand. Arms up when you get to the top. Drop your head back behind your arms. Reach up, look back. Shift your weight into your heels. And you can take that as far as feels good. Just keep looking a little bit back. I mean, we're talking a millimeter at a time. And bring it back up, hands to your heart, balancing again. We're going to weight in your left foot, shift, lift, lift, bring your leg to that 90-90, take your left hand to the outside of your right leg, lift your right arm up, then reach it backward, wrap your left ribs to the right as you slowly try to look and see your right thumb. If you want more, you can reach down and grab the outside edge of your right foot. You have to be able to stand. Try to get my balance. Don't look at the screen. Can't look at the screen and do this. I'll see myself moving and lose it. But you can kick forward and reach back. Stand it down with control, slowly. All right, then we'll shift and lift on the other side. Shift to the right, lift your left leg, and this time, right hand across. I like to meat hook around the hamstring, then your left arm goes up and back. So from the side, keeping everything nice and squared up. You're not hiking your hip at all to accomplish this. You are putting a little pressure, pull pressure, right to left. You are putting a little push pressure, left to back, left back. All right, so up to you what level you're taking it to. And we'll bring it back with control. Good. This time you'll take your hands, scoop underneath your feet, knees squat, legs stance, squat distance-ish. Pull on your feet and squat down, and then up and down a few times with a little bit of pressure pulling up on your feet. Walk your hands out in front of you. Go ahead and sit the rest of the way down into your squat. Hands forward, hips down and back. And then hands to the ground, step back plank. Plank inhale, exhale to lower. Inhale cobra. Exhale, child's pose. Sit, come on back, tabletop. From tabletop, yeah, is it time? Yeah, it's pretty much time. All right, slide we'll go left side first, left knee forward, and then sit onto your left hip, bend your right knee somewhat. So we're setting up for an entry into pigeon that I call broken down pigeon. If you have a more standard pigeon practice, you'll get there eventually, but we're entering in a more grounded, logical progression rather than from some arbitrary shape like down dog. So you want your left knee wide, you want to be grounded through your left hip, because everybody's like, you'll get there eventually. Well, you could just be there immediately. You can get your hip down and then work around your hip being grounded to the ground. You want your left ribs to the inside. All right, see, knee outside of my rib cage. And that might be hard. You might be over here with it, and if that's the case, as long as you're not feeling it in your knee, that's an okay place to start, because this is a very broken down version of pigeon. So you can safely start fully chest to body to leg, head in line with your knee, and as you get more open, you just crawl yourself to the inside orientation. This back leg starts bent, but as you open up, remember, you're not opening up at the expense of this butt cheek coming up off of the ground. It has to stay down. All right, so as you get this leg back, it also rolls down. Starts rolled open, it goes to neutral. When it goes from open to neutral, my left butt cheek doesn't come up off of the ground. I just happen to have more than enough looseness in the front of my hip that making that transition does not compromise my position on the left side. That's me. That might not be you. You might have to stop with that back leg bent so that you can go from way over here to the inside and pancake down in your upper body, and then you'll get the slack to take the leg a little bit back, and a little bit back, and a little bit back, and eventually roll it down. So it's a progression, starting with the left hip down. As it feels good, if you're a person who does have a very open pigeon pose. Okay, you're fully extended. Take your leg more to the left and your upper body more to the right, and you end up in a more open knee position. Still works the same way. Still works to get you to the same place, but you can start with a grounded hip for those who don't already have that in their toolbox. You'll be here for another couple of breaths. Get as long as you can in your upper body. Okay, you're gonna come on up and switch sides. So, right hip down fully, right? Butt cheek down, thigh down, knee outside of the rib cage. If you are more over your knee to begin with, just track to the left this time if you need to. All right, but if you can start inside of ribs inside of knee, great. Play around with where that back leg needs to be so that you can hinge forward. As you hinge forward, if there's the space to take the leg back, the rest of the way do. But remember, you're also rotating from open to neutral. What is that actually doing? It's taking your pelvis from the left side being higher up to the left side being in the same plane as your right hip.
Keep getting as long as you can through your upper body. Reach your arms long. Pancake your hands down to the ground. Get long through both sets of ribs on both sides.
Give it another couple of breaths. Come on up. Let's go legs wide-ish. Roll your butt cheeks out from underneath you. Crawl your hands forward, and this is where there's branching options depending on your pelvic tilt. Some people's pelvis is sort of stuck so that they're way back here with it, in which case you may benefit from having a backstop lower than higher probably, right? So that you can keep scooting back and there's something at least to keep you from just going back, right? And you can almost, with your hands forward, push into it. Even if you're all the way up here, you can push into it and just let your head curl down. So that's if you're kind of stuck at 90 degrees or more open than 90 degrees. If you're at 90 degrees or less, you can use the same surface as a prop for your head, but nobody's saying you have to stop there. If you want to go down all the way, you can, unless you're hypermobile, in which case maybe you don't. It just depends on if you're going with muscular support or if you're compromising your joint to do it. If that's you, get at me afterwards so that I know and we can talk about it. Take your hands behind, unless you're using the prop as a backstop, take your hands behind your hips, keep your head down, and scoot your hips an inch-ish or so forward. It will open the angle even a little bit wider. You can then roll your butt cheeks out from underneath you a second time and try to let gravity take a hold of your upper body again from there. Stay low. Scoot your upper body over to the right with your right arm on the ground inside of your right leg. You can either then just reach your left arm to the right, or you can take your left hand to your left hip and stack up and be kind of drooped over to the right. If your left hip is coming up off of the ground though, you've gone too far. And you can actually kind of go and wing it back and forth between those two options. If you can kind of do it fluidly, that's not bad for the fascia, that's good for the fascia. Stay low, rotate through the middle, walk it over to the left. Drop your left arm to the inside of your left leg. Reach your right arm for your right foot without your right hip coming up. Or your right hand can come to your right hip, roll your shoulder onto your back and stack your two shoulders, letting your left ear drop down to the ground, or close it down, reach, hand to hip, stack it up a couple of times. Come through the middle, 3 more breaths in the center. Come on up slowly and lay onto your back. Plug your knees into your chest and just hold like this for an extra breath or two. And then go ahead and extend yourself out long. Set yourself up comfortably for Shavasana. Feel free to use your block however feels comfortable. Take a nice long stretch. Maybe let your head move a little side to side. As it feels good, you can come on up to a comfortable seat. Bring your hands into your heart. Take a moment. Press your palms together so that you can open your chest up broad. Breathe in deeply through your nose. Hold it in at the top. Open your mouth. Sigh it out. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'll see y'all in the day.